You showed me all it takes is fear and a little focused violence. You inspired me.
You're out of your goddamn mind.
What?
This is all in your head. You're sick. Twisted.
How can you say that?
You think you'll be remembered? You're a pathetic psychopath. Begging for attention. You're gonna die alone in our a nobody!
Hello everyone, this week on Hero Motivations is a special episode because I will be doing a comparative essay on a hero and a villain, taking a look at Robert Patterson's Batman and Paul Dano's Riddler, comparing these men, their motivations and personality, all in an attempt to answer why Batman won't kill and why the Riddler will. Let's get started. A quick sidebar, I am not a comic buff or I've had the blessing of reading or keeping comic books, so my interpretation and analysis is based on the movie mostly and my own fat brain.
I'm vengeance.
Bruce and Edward had many parallels as children. Both grew up with trauma, both watched their parents die, both orphaned, haunted, and witnesses to death. The main difference being, Bruce obviously had financial stability and Alfred growing up, while Edward had basically no one and was dirt poor. Their paths as children might have looked a bit different, but by the time they grew up, they reconnected to one very similar fundamental goal: vengeance. My interpretations for both characters are that Batman seeks out bad people in order to reap revenge for his parents who were taken away. He thinks that him and vengeance are one and the same thing. It's a relentless burning drive to feed that part of himself, to the point that it might be an addiction. He gains some sort of satisfaction from dealing vengeance each night, and since he doesn't stop, it's clear he enjoys it.
2 years of nights have turned me into a nocturnal animal.
Another way of thinking about his motivation is that he believes that every time he interrupts criminals, he is saving himself as a child. His intervention can be his way of doing something that night, saving his family and himself. And lastly, he can see Batman, or what he has become, as a curse or burden. Every time he interrupts criminals, in a sense, can stop other children from going through what he has and becoming the Batman. Now, Edward's interpretation is much more simple. He had the same itch, the same relentless burning drive to get even. The major difference being he sought vengeance on the entire system, not the individual criminal. A society that was so broken to begin with that took away his innocence, constantly shouting hollowed promises that result in a never-ending cycle of disappointment and longing while waiting in his orphanage.
The Wayne Foundation pledges a $1 billion donation to start a charitable endowment for public works.
His vengeance came in the form of a methodically thought-out plan to cause chaos on Gotham.
What's black and blue and dead all over? You. If you think you can stop what's coming.
First, he wanted to execute Falcone. Killing him was like taking the tumor out of a body. The criminal underlord's death marked the first step of getting clean. And after that, I think the point of flooding the city was to basically tear down the system, break everything down as much as possible so that it can be rebuilt into something better. He saw the whole city as the bowl of water you use to wash your paintbrushes. Except imagine the water was already black. You can clean as much color into the water, but it won't alter, no matter how much you try. It's tainted, ruined. Flooding the city was like throwing the water out, starting fresh, destroying everything, and starting anew in his mind. If we break down their vengeance, it's very similar. Both their vengeance was rooted in how they were wronged as children, both motivated to take it out on their own community, getting satisfaction and unable to stop themselves. First thing I want to mention about symbolism is that although the Riddler talked about Falcone being a rat, his statement about bringing the rat into the light was a symbolic phrase. Bringing Falcone into the light would be the means of how he could execute him, but it was very symbolic too, because he was making a statement that the most influential and controlling criminal boss with all this power was a creature of the dark, just like Batman and him, a rat, someone who lives in holes, unseen, only known by a few and feared by everyone.
The informant you all protect from the Salvatore Maroni case.
How do you know about that?
What's his name?
20 seconds! No.
What does that mean? To think that a powerful icon was a rat is an insult to that person's sense of pride, but alternatively, it can be a statement about the people, that the people are cowards in a sense to be afraid of something like a rat. Now, even if that might be true of Falcone, there had to be some level of projecting from the Riddler here. Calling Falcone a rat while the Riddler lived nearly all of his life the same way, plotting and hiding in the shadow, he also lived his life like a rat, totally unknown, totally alone, living in holes. I can't really decide who that speaks more of. How sad that everyone is afraid of a rat, or how sad is it that a rat is to be feared? You can tell me in the comments. Comparing the symbolism of these two men and the creatures they symbolize, to the Riddler's credit, a rat and a bat aren't all that different. They're both very comfortable in the dark because these two men both had exactly the same precious secret. Both Edward and Bruce had to keep their identities hidden at all costs because it was both their sources of confidence. Hiding in the dark and wearing a mask allowed both of them to live different lives. Pretending and believing is a powerful force, and this is just reinforced by the placebo effect.
You inspired me.
Out of your goddamn mind.
This placebo effect basically just means that you believing something will happen, and then it happening is like manifesting it to happen in the first place. Now, having a mask hides all that you want to hide and reveals only what you want to reveal. In Batman's case, he wanted to hide any vulnerability and project strength and fear.
He's asking how much it costs for you to turn your back.
58 seconds!
How much?
Nothing!
How much?
With the mask gone, he was vulnerable to people's preconceived opinions about Bruce Wayne.
You know, you really could be doing more for this city. Your family has a history of philanthropy, but as far as I can tell, you're not doing anything.
And his supposedly easy life. Being the Batman also protects Bruce from the trauma of his parents' death. You can see how Batman panics when he thinks the Riddler knows his secret identity.
Bruce. Wayne. Bruce. Wayne.
It would mean that the persona he created in his head would dissolve, leaving him very vulnerable to dealing with his repressed problems. I'm not treating Batman and Bruce Wayne as different people, but because they act so differently, it's clear that he believes that there is some difference between how he acts when he's Bruce and when he's Batman. For the Riddler, with his mask on, he lost some of the terror he relied upon to get his message across, less in a position to use doubt and mind games with Batman.
Oh, you're really not as smart as I thought you were.
Still ominous, of course, but speaking in a way that is more of face value, more honest, and more grounded.
If you think you can stop what's coming.
Even if he planned to get caught, he couldn't know exactly how it would feel to be unmasked until it happened. So he probably felt naked and vulnerable without his mask on as well.
This is not how this was supposed to go!
Both men are creatures of the night, hide their secret identities, in a sense pretend to be other people, project fear and confidence, and are both vulnerable with their masks gone. As we have previously discussed, the Riddler and Batman had very similar upbringings and nearly identical vengeance motivations. Now, I want to compare their personalities as well. I will be using the Big Five personality trait, or trait theory, which was originally created by D.W. Fisk, but this theory has been developed by many other psychologists over the years. I will simply put a ranking out of 10 for each character as they relate to each trait. The first one is extroversion, the degree to which someone puts themselves out there, excitement seekers, assertive, cheerful, and friendly. They also tend to have a social battery, meaning they are more energized by being with people rather than being alone. Although Bruce Wayne, I'm pretty sure, is supposed to be a charismatic and charming man, this version of Bruce is really the exact opposite, more a brooding character who socializes out of obligation and doesn't seem to enjoy talking to others, nor is he particularly assertive or enthusiastic. However, Batman is a little more assertive due to his confidence. Even if he doesn't see it that way, he does indeed seek excitement. What is vigilante work if it's not a never-ending cycle of excitement? All in all, I rank Bruce Wayne's extroversion as a 4, plus 2 for when he is Batman, with a total of 6. The Riddler is similar to Batman in regards to the lack of extroverted social interactions he seems to be a part of. His whole plan seems to be the only excuse for his interaction with people throughout his life, although I will point out that he seemed to have a continuous online community of psychos who he communicated with for a time, which does imply he enjoys socializing just a little bit more than Bruce. And similarly to Bruce, he was also an excitement seeker. Even if it was crazy, he clearly seeks excitement in his own way. I rank him a 6.5 for extroversion. Neuroticism, the trait of worry, withdrawal, anxiety, depression, vulnerability, and anger. Basically the corrosive trait that tends to reflect the parts of ourselves that are damaged, hurt, and harmful. It's clear that both these men have generally high worry, depression, anxiety. They're both haunted and both damaged. Creatures of the night need the shadows to hide everything, including themselves. Mr. Obsidian 2022. I would rank Bruce with a 9 and Edward with a 10. Openness to experience, the trait of imagination, intelligence, emotionality, and idealism. Now, I would rate the two subjects of this video similar here as well. 8. I think it's because both men are intelligent in their own way. Both had goals and plans and went through with them regardless of consequences on both sides, which relates to idealism. Although the Riddler's plan was quite sick, Batman and him had the imagination or the vision to make their ideas, however different, a reality, which is why I rate them high on this. Conscientiousness has to do with self-efficacy, achievement orientation, discipline, and cautiousness. Now, if you have been following till now, these men have so much more that unites them than divides, and even this trait was similar, because their dreams or motivations were achievement-oriented, with so much self-control and discipline. The only place they differ is cautiousness. I would say the Riddler is a bit more cautious than Batman. Not necessarily because of intelligence. Batman threw himself into electrified water and jumped off a building with a parachute that he probably didn't test prior. He puts himself in danger way more than the Riddler, because the Riddler plays the slow game, putting himself in danger only when necessary. Batman 8, Riddler 9. Agreeableness. And the last trait leads us perfectly into the last part of the video. Agreeableness relating to compassion, trust, altruism, and compliance. This is the crust. This is where the river bends. It would appear that the main thing dividing these two men is agreeableness, because Batman sees himself so easily in the place of others. Such vulnerability hurts him to bear witness to. He helps those who can't help themselves. He's compassionate and empathetic. And this is how he relates to the victims of mindless cruelty. Where the Riddler kills people with purpose as a means to play a part in his wicked game, but let's assume that some people died in the flooding. That's not part of his mind games. That is not making a statement, that's just collateral damage. Which means he simply doesn't possess the compassion or has a diminished empathy for the people who died due to his cause.
Which one's you?
You tell me.
We now have everything we need to answer this burning question, and while writing this video I was actually shocked just how similar these two characters were. The Batman and the Riddler, both creatures of the night, both wear masks, both are motivated by vengeance, both driven to reap their vengeance at the cost of themselves, both wish to clean Gotham, both are achievement oriented, anxious, lack extroversion, and are both very intelligent. It would seem that the compassion and altruism that comes with being agreeable means the Riddler kills people because he just doesn't care, where Batman won't kill because he does care. But I thought that's weak sauce. Sure, you can say the Riddler kills people because he's a psychopath where Batman isn't, but that's not good enough either. Getting to the diamond under the mountain, in my opinion, the reason Batman won't kill is because he still has something left to lose. These men and their trauma, so similarly treated by life, they survived with fundamentally different impressions of themselves. The Riddler took all that pain and made a plan that took lives, and he was happy to do that because he truly believed he had nothing left. Nothing left to lose, nothing worth losing, nothing that can hurt him anymore. So he can hurt others as much as possible as a result. But Batman, he still has a flake, a glimmer of humanity inside him, and he believes that when you kill someone, the child inside of you, that precious part, the humanity, it dies alongside the person you take from this world, which is why he will not let himself lose the one thing he still thinks is pure about himself. Thanks for watching Hillen or Villo Motivations. I will put this in both playlists. Tell me in the comments why you think Batman won't kill and why the Riddler does, and I'll see you in the next video.